What up, everybody? It's Andy from Cyberfrogs and Tap FinTech. Today, we're going to be looking at the markets using our tool known as Thor. If this is your first time joining, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is simply me using our tool known as Thor via taptrade.io to navigate the markets and help me make some financial decisions. This is not meant for anyone to follow along, although we do talk about multiple assets, multiple time frames, and it's a really good introduction if you are looking to improve your trading, whether or not you're a complete newbie, all the way up to an experienced trader. We have tools for both the new and experienced trader to help them trade. Today's going to be a fun, just quick overview of what we've covered. We've covered AVAX, Injective, Bitcoin, Solana in the past. I'm going to likely start with Injective, and then I want to keep things fresh. And also, we don't want to just keep looking at the same trades. What's really cool about Thor is that it is a living, breathing, proprietary trading algorithm, which is constantly generating new signals. Even though I'm a big boomer trader and I personally focus on more macro timeframes, Thor is applicable to any asset on 15-minute and 1-hour timeframes as well. So if you're an active day trader, it's just constantly giving you trades. We'll look at some of the data as we're talking about trades. We like to put it all out there. All of our data on our win rates for assets are specifically covered by time frame as well at taptrade.io/Thor. If you want to see them, it's all live. You can see our cumulative total 70% win rate that we maintain, as well as the previous 30-day performance rating for every asset that we have listed. That's the fun stuff. That's my big intro. And now we're going to get to just what we're here for, trading. So starting out, if you're new to our systems, you go to taptrade.io. You'll click this button at the right-hand top of your corner. You'll go to Thor. You'll get asked which Thor you'd like to log into, and just click Ask Thor. It's where I'll be using. It's what I'll be using for these classes moving forward, and it's the interface that is the most accessible for trading signals on stocks, Forex, cryptos, and even your favorite meme coins on Solana. So you can literally come in here, input any contract address, or scroll through any of the available cryptocurrencies we have listed here. You can enter any NASDAQ symbol that you have if you're a stock trader, or any of the Forex signals that you'd like. You just follow this formatting right here. Boom, pop them in, and you get your signals back. For me, and for us, and for this class, and I don't know what's wrong with my camera today, but I'm sorry. Let me see one thing real quick. Oh, I don't want to fuck with that. Yeah, I don't want to fuck with that right now. All right. So hopefully you guys can follow along and it's not too choppy, but I want to start with Injective. Why? Because we've been looking at it multiple times throughout this class, and it's having some really good support right now. I do use CoinMarketCap if I'm just trying to get like a broad glance at the market. It's not like super active. And for our timestamp today, it is 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday the 27th, Thursday the 27th. Injective holding out at around 1040 right now. Over the last 7 days, we did have a nice bounce from some lows where we originally took some of our longs, and we did just hit our first take profit level, sort of in the mid-range of this pump right here at like 1090, I think is where we had our sell. Since then, we've been holding out. We did not take a short. I did not take a short. I did not hedge. I simply sold some of my spot buys. My plan has always been to sell incrementally at the levels that we just hit, a higher level at like 1180. And then my ultimate sell for around 80% of my bags is at that $12 range. I'm keeping 20% of my purchases sub $8 or $10 as my long-term holding bags. I'm essentially making 20% free on the Injective that I purchased, and I'm going to hold that for my long-term bags while I've recouped all of my capital. And this is an interesting point that we can talk on real quick. You do have to hit the sell button. We were just talking about it before we started this live recording, and the sell button can be hard to hit when euphoria sets in. And this is, once again, why it's so important to make your plan and just trade your plan. We're not going to adjust. We're not going to really change. We're not going to change our thesis unless the math tells us to. And the math tells us to hit a sell button at these levels. So I'm already happy to see that we had a positive reaction to our sell in terms of what we were looking for, because now we have the chance to compound and rebuy back in if we want to compound our gains back into the underlying asset. Let's just see what TAP has to say. So I've just gone to our Ask Thor page. I have these available, or any signals that you request will be available in this drop-down menu. If you've requested signals on stocks, they're all populated on this drop-down menu. And then obviously the time frame is where you're going to be able to navigate to find your signals. We and I always start at 1 day. There's nothing new other than this one signal right here that does invalidate this $12 signal. This is new information for us as of today. This is the first time that I've seen this signal. Does my thesis change yet? No, but let's keep working on it further. This is the lower range now of where we originally had our 1 day buy-in. And this is testing once again these lows that we hit right here. You know, this isn't like the most detailed, super in-depth chart, but it's good enough for us to say, all right, cool. We're hitting that little bottom of that cliff right there. Great. We had a positive reaction to it one time. Potentially we retest what is those lows. That's now on my radar. It does invalidate this $12 target that I had. So let's adjust our thesis and go from there. Let's see if we need to adjust our thesis. You don't have to overcomplicate shit. What's the invalidation level on this? 11, 12. So 2 new pieces of information, and let's just see if that F's with our plan at all. I already know that this is what? It's that $11 resistance that we've been talking about for like over a week now. We've known about this level for a while. We've known that there was a sell trigger right there, and we just hit a little bit below it. No surprise. We had a pullback. Cool. What's up next? 1 day macro overlook, slightly adjusted. 4 hour. I'm zooming in. I'm seeing what's up in the next 2 weeks or so. Once again, I'm seeing that same signal. Okay. So we have an active short right now on a macro 4 hour. We have not hit our take profit yet. And now we have another long at $8.80. Are you shooketh? Are you worried? If you bought $10, if you bought today and it goes to 8, yeah, you're down 20%. You probably don't like that. This is where you can get into Thor and say, hey, look, there's an active short and an active long. If I want to buy injective, that $8 level is probably a great level to start my purchases. Do I want to buy now? Yes, but I understand that there is a risk mathematically that there's still a drawdown on the table. So I probably wouldn't throw my whole mortgage at it right now. I would save some capital to buy at $8.80 if we get to that range. Okay. For me personally, for what I've done and talked about in this class, does it adjust my thesis? Not yet. Why? Because this is around where we originally bought in the first place. This doesn't do anything to me. Did I already take some profit off the table from when I bought this the first time? Yes, I did. 33% of what I set out to sell, I've already sold. Now I can make a couple of decisions. Now I have what is essentially profit off the table from that trade, and I sold it at this level right here, $10.75. Do I want to continue to hold to my thesis and plan on selling $12 and $16 injective? If yes, then I use that money I just sold to buy this signal if we get there. If I didn't sell and we get back there, I'm going to kick myself in the ass because I didn't hit the sell button, which goes back to what I was talking about earlier. To make money in crypto, you can't be a moon boy all the way. You have to take sensible profit when it's sensible to do so. So we did, and we talked about it, and it's recorded. We did. And now I have 33% of that trade to recompound back down here with an overall positive APY on my underlying asset, which is injective, because I still think it's going to $12. Look, if we go to this $8 signal, what happens? Well, does it invalidate this? No, obviously not. This is still active. You'd hit your take profit all the way down. Cool, right on. Does it invalidate the $12? It does. Okay. So let's just use that, put that in our brain for now, and then we'll talk about how that impacts my choices moving forward. I know that I'm buying $8 again, even if we get back down there, even if $12 is off the table mathematically from the invalidation level. For me personally, all I'm doing is re-entering my original trade. That's it. I'm coming back down here to my 1-day signal where I'm buying below this 1-day signal where we all had and now have a correlating 1-day signal on it right now with profit ranges that I'm super stoked about. 9 and 10 to 16% return. Is it this 56% return that we are really gunning for here? No. But is it a sensible and feasible time to re-enter that trade and be happy if we get that 10 to 16% after having just made 10 to 16%? Yes. Yes, it is. Welcome, my friends, to trading panning out in a practical, non-overstressed, who gives a shit about news approach. This is just Thor signals all playing out now. And this is what I'm talking about personally every time I say that it just takes a little bit of risk management and strategy to really maximize it. You don't have to be a day trader every over-leveraged 15-minute signal to make money. We just made 20%. We're probably about to, I just made 20% on that trade as it stands. I'm going to buy back down here again and stand to make another 10% on this trade. And once again, now gunning back to where we always really fall back on. Why should I give a shit about this? Well, it's worked out for us once and we've recorded it. That's cool. Why should I give a shit about it moving forward? Let's just see if we should. Taptrade.io. Click Thor in the upper right-hand corner. This is where you'll be prompted to log in. And if you're a new user and you want to interact with Thor, and if you want to test the signals, go to the Ask Thor system, and it's a pay-per-request system. Simple to use, one-time fee for you to test it out on your own with a low commitment. And you can follow along these free classes that we provide in order to learn how to use it and how to apply it into your own trading strategy and hopefully into a more profitable portfolio. So we're not going to go there. We're already there. I'm going to exit that right now. And I'm going to go down and I'm going to look at the data around injective because that's what I'm trading. Cool. Cumulative total right now and past 30 days. We've talked about these numbers. 1 out of 3, that's not great. That's under our 70% considerably. That is not on the right side of probability. I've accounted for that in my own personal plan. Same with this 1 hour. Same with the 15 minutes, not trading 15 minutes. On a bigger macro target, when I don't see that we've been performing well, what I will do is look at the cumulative total. Now I'm trading a 1-day signal that does have an 80% cumulative win rate, and so on and so forth as a cumulative, looking at a 2 out of 3 win rate, which is fine by me in terms of risk adjustment. I've already made a profitable trade on one of these 1 day and 4 hour signals. Cool. Right on. This is good enough for me to trade. I expect for a lot of traders, 80% win rate on macro trades is also a good place to start, potentially including in your own trading strategy. For me on the 30-day, this should also be very, public. It's not like we just paint rainbows and sunshines. Thor is not a crystal ball. Thor gives you the ability to make your plan up or down and integrate it into a risk adjusted or whatever your risk tolerance is trading strategy or trading portfolio, however you manage. So overall, cool. 80%. That's where I'm at. That's why I give a crap about anything that I'm talking about right now. And I'm going to go from there. My plan remains the same. I bought within this level around here originally. We DCA'd down into the upper range of this $8.80. I want this 56 return. My risk to reward on this has always been a 1 to 2. So I've been willing to take a massive drawdown in order to get the 56%. I'm also just spot trading, so I don't really have a stop loss, but if it gets to a point where I need to cut losses, I'll use Thor to help me do that. But it still is a just preferential sort of starting place, a 1 to 2 risk to reward. Now, am I at my 1 to 2 risk to reward virtual stop loss on this? No, I'm not. I'm recompounding down, and I'm going to do the same thing I did now, but on a more micro level. Bought injective once, sold injective. Now we have a decision on what to do with that capital. I think that it's a really decent idea to recompound back down here now. If you get down here, what do? Let's just simplify at this point. The 33% of the position that we sold at that $10.90 level, the original sell point from our original buy, let's just say that was $100, okay? Just to be, easy with it. I have $100, and I've said if I get down to this level, I'm going to reinvest that $100 that was $80. I'm going to reinvest that back down here. Now, with the asset you buy with that $100 at this level, if I haven't confused you yet, you got two choices here. Do I sell at these take profit levels right here? That's the cleanest way to do it. Or is this simply a DCA and an average into my overall macro position at 16 to 20? Or if and likely when we get this $12 signal again, because it will have been invalidated, do we want to sell it at $12? I'm a big purist when it comes to Thor. Why? Because I'm not a great trader. I just use Thor signals, and this is all I'm doing is using Thor signals. So for me, since I'm a take profit one purist and a signal, maxi, I'm going to buy in this range and I'm going to sell what I bought at this take profit level for a 10% return. Maybe I'll get cutesy with it and I'll sell 80% of what I bought at this first take profit level and 20% leading into TP2. But I'm not going to overthink it, nor am I going to get overly optimistic or overly bullish. And now we're going to go on a super quick journey on what we did and how we got to and what our plan is with the original, $80 we bought that injective with. We bought it at $8.90. We sold it at $10.90. We're planning to buy it at $8.80 and we're planning to sell it again at $9.90. And this is where I want people to understand that it's not leverage and it is not gambling and it is not these one-time knock it out of the park trades that makes a profitable trader. It's consistency and it's your plan and it's your ability to regulate yourself emotionally in the markets to just stick to your plan. And Thor helps you do it. Man, I really hope that they clip that one for a short on YouTube. That's a good one. Also, I'm sorry, y'all. I know that I have to bust into short mode every once in a while, so thanks for bearing with it. But so anything on my injective trade is not really adjusted other than me planning on buying more. Excuse me. Same here. 1 day signal on the 4 hour. All right, cool. We know that it could be coming up. What's up on the 1 hour? I'm getting into active day trading. Well, my same levels that I want to sell at are right here. Hold on. Yeah, I feel like I'm choking. Plan remains the same. Everything consistent. Everything except for the ability to buy a little bit more injective with some profit is on the table. Now, that $100 that we, sold, do I buy back down here? No, I ignore that 1 day signal or a 1 hour signal. Not for me, whatever. I'm only caring about this one because the 10%, I'm not really on it for this. Not at least for the position that I've taken as a spot trader. And there's nothing on the 15. So for injective, it's super, how do I say? For injective, the plan hasn't changed. The targets still remain the same. And like anything else, we're actively monitoring the invalidation levels alongside new trading signals for us to adjust our plan and just plan. For us, I've chosen to add to my position should it get down to that $8.88 level. Otherwise, my plan remains consistently the same, averaging out all the way up to $12 and fully taking profit on the position at 16. And that's it for Injective. I'd like to just quickly look at AVAX, and then that's going to be it for me today. Same thing I always do. Why do I care about AVAX? One, I think it's a great asset. It's got a great community. There are a lot of use cases and applications for AVAX moving forward. The marketing team's good. Lots of reasons to like AVAX. Is it my end-all be-all long-term hold? No, nothing other than Bitcoin really is. Bitcoin and Solana at this point. Those are my long-term holds. That's what I want more and more and more and more of, and I don't really care what it costs. It's not what I'm trying to sell. For AVAX, I like it for a midterm hold. I like it for a major hold during a cycle, especially for a bull trend. And I also just like it because it has great trading ranges. And that's what we're here for, making money. I start on the 1 day, and I see that we're in 2 active longs with some insane returns on the table right now. There is no secret here that we've been holding at a pretty macro level of support all across the board. You can see it getting tested right here once. You can see it on the low being tested, within the same relative range right here. And this is a long period of time. We have gone up, we have gone down and tested, we have gone up and tested, and we have gone back down and tested. That's where we're at. It's that fun 50-50. For AVAX, I would say this is a pretty glaringly obvious support level, right? I bought, we fell a little bit below it, but not too much. And here we are for today at, what's our pricing? 21.97.93 right now. So we are still currently within the upper part and just a little bit above this entry point right here. $22 was a big 4-hour signal that we had right before. We ended up falling through that and invalidating that signal. But that signal in my mind was relevant because I originally bought some around there. And so I know that was a 4-hour signal. I can likely expect some resistance or at least some volatility around 22, 23 bucks. That's just from using Thor and not really guessing at it. We did fall down and had this 1 day signal here already, and I had capital for it right on, and we're still holding out for a pretty strong return on AVAX, is what I have on the table. That's a double X. You're not even still at all-time high at that point. You're not even testing this upper channel up here. You're still right at the tippity top of this fair value gap, just on this big macro level, that big old red right there. You're sitting, taking profit right around the top of that. To me, that's a pretty decent trade right there, and not bad. Let's see what else is on the table. Nothing on the 4-hour and on the 1 hour. We have, once again, what I just said, and I hadn't even looked at it. It's a new signal today, but we knew that that range was going to be resistance. My thesis on AVAX right now, personally, is not Thor. It's that it probably hasn't performed or had, I think, the adoption or support from this cycle that it likely is expected to. I think that AVAX will start testing 33 again. That's just not financial advice. First off, it's my own personal inclination and also corresponds to the $33 take profit that we have. And like I said, this big old fair value gap that we see right here. That's where I'm at on AVAX. I think that that is a clean return for an asset that if it doesn't go the right way, what's just AVAX's all-time low, like $4 or something like that. On this last bear, it got to $10. And before that, 12. So originally launching at around fucking, next to nothing. And then, I think sustainably speaking, your lows on AVAX have only ever gotten down to $10. So your worst case scenario here is that you buy an asset, which historically speaking has had all-time low, or not all-time, but consistent lows at or around $10 to $8. Now, okay, Andrew, right on. You can still have a 50% drawdown on this asset. Yeah, welcome to crypto, buddy. Yes, you can. 99% of cryptos launched go to zero. AVAX tends to only go down to 8 to 10 on a very, very bad worst case Pico bear market for this last cycle right there. That was its cycle low. Okay, cool. We bought it $18. Relatively speaking, I would say a sensible entry into an asset that has strong support, that has underperformed currently for this cycle, and still has take profit levels with a 67% trading delta. Cool, right on. Now let's double check. How good are we at trading AVAX? I have no idea. I haven't looked. Look, 56% chance. And in the last 30 days, great. Same to be said for what we covered on Injective. Past performance does not indicate future performance or successful hit rates. You can see that they vary drastically. However, 56%, I'm still on the right side of probability. As a trader, I've still adjusted my risk. I still know what I am willing to lose on a trade, and that's a trade I'm willing to take. 56% of the time being right when making money still makes money. And then obviously periods of time for the last 30 days where three of our only three signals, all three of them hit at least take profit one. So that's why I have chosen to take this AVAX trade. That's why I am optimistic. And I also have a very sensible risk on this trade. When you get to such high returns, you need to be willing and capable of weathering potentially large downturns too. Now, if you do a 1 to 2 on this, you're telling yourself you're willing to take almost a 35% drawdown to make that 67%. You can have much more aggressive risk to rewards. You can do a 1 to 5. You know what I mean? You can do whatever you're comfortable and fits within your own personal preferences. I've bought a key level of support. I probably won't sell it if there's a 35% drawdown. I do not have a stop loss on it. I just bought spot. And if we get to lower levels, I'll buy more. That's where I'm at on AVAX personally. So if anyone has questions in the Discord, I'm happy to cover one more asset. And if not, I'll probably do my little outro and wind her down. All right. Thanks for joining. That was our session for today. My name's Andy. You can find additional information at taptrade.io or join our Discord via the website to engage with our community, learn more about our trades, or even come in and ask questions about Thor. We're available, generally speaking, 24/7. At least members of our community are, and it's a great place to come in and learn how to use Thor and tap alongside other people who are actively using them as well. If you'd like to be a part of our live trading classes, as well as a wealth of utility that comes alongside of it, you can go to Magic Eden or Tensor and buy a Cyber Frog, which does give you access to 24/7 free signals for Solana and Jito at this time, as well as reduced fees on our Ask Thor system and performance fees on our automated trading services. If you liked what you see, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.